Welcome to the Becoming Your Best Version podcast. I'm your host, Maria Leonard Olson. I'm a civil litigation attorney in Washington, D.C., a podcaster, a TEDx speaker, an author, journalist, and mentor to women in recovery. You can learn more about me at marialeonardolson.com. If you would kindly hit the like on my TEDx talks, I would appreciate it. So it would increase visibility, bringing it to people who I think it can help. Also, my most popular book is called 50 After 50, Reframing the Next Chapter of Your Life. And I would appreciate even a one-word review on Amazon or Goodreads because it is a numbers algorithm. So it's really the greatest gift you can give an author is to review their book. So I started this podcast 6 years ago because my work in the realm of women in midlife has brought me into contact with amazing women who have inspired me and I think will inspire you. Today, joining us from Pensacola, Florida, is Julie Nise, a relationship trainer and communication strategist known for her direct, results-oriented approach. With more than 2 decades of combined corporate, entrepreneurial, and clinical experience, Julie brings a rare balance of empathy and practicality to her coaching. She has successfully guided more than 8,000 individuals and couples through challenges in communication, trust, and leadership, offering clear, actionable strategies that create lasting change. Her insight and authenticity have earned her national recognition, including multiple appearances on the Dr. Phil Show, where her compassionate yet focused style resonated with both audiences and producers. As a regular commentator on NewsRadio KTRH Houston, Julie shared expert perspectives on relationships, communication, current events, and leadership. Outside her work, Julie enjoys time with family, coastal living, and encouraging others to grow in purpose and connection. You can learn more at outcomesonly.com and follow her on social media. All of this is in the show notes. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, Maria. So nice to be here.
So, how did you get started in this line of work? What made you choose this path?
Well, as you well know, because this is the whole theme of your podcast, this whole midlife change or what happens after midlife is huge. Mine was not at 50, it actually was a decade before that. I was turning 40 and in corporate America doing high-tech medical sales and providing technical assistance to surgeons when they use some of the surgical devices and such. And it was great fun. I loved it. However, corporate America is, let's just say, not the place for me in the long run. And as I look forward, I just didn't see a lot of women, in the capacity of having fun in corporate America. So I thought, I probably ought to do something different. So indeed, finally I couldn't tolerate doing any more accounting, so an MBA was not going to be in the cards. But I did end up getting a master's in clinical psychology. So now I have the master's in clinical psych and an undergrad in business administration and psychology, and off I launched into a career of what I thought would mostly would be helping couples. Well, it turns out that traditional therapy does not work well to help couples because it focuses mostly on the past, mostly on your childhood, and mostly on a lot of negative feelings. What I discovered in my journey of doing this work is that focusing on the future, resolving the past, certainly, but focusing on the future and creating the new things you want to have in it is where people should spend most of their time. So, long story short, I ended up doing this with a whole lot more training postgraduate, like 20 years of continuing mentorship and feedback from high quality people. So I was lucky enough to have that sort of mentorship for me. So I've just had the best time in my own practice for about 20 years doing this.
Wow, wow. Well, you talk about how you can achieve a greater level of leadership through listening. So, tell us more about that.
Well, communication is one of the main things I teach. And of course, gosh, we could go on for days about that. But good communication requires that you essentially come outside of your head, notice what's going on in front of you, and respond only to that. So that may be listening, but actually, even more than that, probably is observation. Most of what we need in terms of communication is coming through our eyeballs. One of the things I teach people is the real meaning of your communication is not what you meant or thought or intended to say. In actuality, it's the response you get back from the listener,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
because we can have all kinds of things going on in our head that we thought we said right or meant or intended, but at the end of the day, it's all about the feedback you get from the listener. So that means we can't have an internal focus. This is an NLP concept. You have to be more externally aware than internally aware if you want really good communication.
What is NLP?
Neuro linguistic programming.
Oh, okay. So I communicate with my adult children principally through texting. And how do you advise people to build real connection in the digital world?
Oh, that's easy. Put the phone down and call.
Yeah,
So
but my
right now,
kids do not like to talk on the phone.
that would be their problem. I still
Uh-huh.
would not make it all about text. Here's the problem. We're in an age now where the internet has almost completely ruined communication. It's drastically and negatively impacted relationships because the person to person, human to human interaction and connections are just gone. They're just non-existent. We have relationships with screens instead of people, and that's catastrophic for humans. We
Yeah.
are not built to interact with computers and screens. So, your children no doubt were raised in a time where, unlike you and I, they have no idea what it's like to not have a phone in their hand.
Yes.
Okay. But they are not better humans, better spouses, or better adults because of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I think parenting of adults obviously is a little different than parenting kids, but even so, parenting of adults should always include being a good role model. And that is for sure a hill I would die on. We
Mm.
will talk, we will not text unless it's just, something meaningless. But
Yeah.
anything important must be done in person or at least in person on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll strive for that.
In fact, some people now, especially with younger kids like teenagers, they're starting to reinstall home phones in their
Ah,
houses. And so the cell phones go in the charger when the kids get home. And now we just have a wall phone like you and I grew up with, right?
yeah.
And that's how they do it. And one funny story I heard was somebody was telling the story about his, I don't know, 12-year-old daughter first upon seeing this wall phone picks up the handle of it and starts looking for where the camera is.
That's funny.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Yep, yep. They don't know about that, that's for sure. So another thing you help people with is how to rebuild trust after a betrayal.
Yes.
How? That sounds
It's,
really hard.
it's shockingly easy.
Hmm.
So the really, really good news, and I really want people to understand this. Of course, going through an infidelity of some kind is very difficult, is painful and awful, and all of that's true. However, secretly, I kind of inside am clapping my hands when somebody comes in with that problem because I know that the vast majority, and I mean vast majority of couples who actually do the work to fix it, to learn what they didn't know, to repair the damage, go on to have way better marriages than they had or relationships than they had in the first place. So seeing the outcome of what could happen, I'm very excited to walk them through it. So yes, it's entirely possible and in fact common to have it much better off. And of course, we need to understand that an infidelity is never the problem. It's only a symptom of the problem.
Hmm.
So coming in, although it's a broken vessel, we could also say that God works best through broken vessels. So it's
Hmm.
something you can repair and rebuild and actually find out what caused all this in the first place. Because if it remains unaddressed, the issue of infidelity would probably come up again.
Well, so what is a way that you can start trusting someone who has betrayed you?
Well, that's a great question. My answer to that, well, when somebody comes in that situation and I say, what do you think will it take to get over or trust again, whoever it is that needs to trust? The answer almost inevitably is, well, it just takes time. And that's not true.
Mm,
Time has nothing to do with anything because the reality is trusting is a decision. It is not a feeling first.
hmm.
If you're waiting around for a feeling of trust to somehow magically fall out of the sky and hit you on your head, it is not going to happen that way. And I have known people who have spent, I'm not kidding, years and years of time waiting to trust, like somehow magically, whatever it is in their head, some amount of time has to pass. A decision to trust, see, the way human beings work, and you probably know this, Maria, being a smart girl like you are, human beings do not change how they feel just intellectually, logically. They change when their behavior changes first. So, for an example, if you did not feel, let's say, confident, and you wanted to feel confident, you would not wait around to feel confident. That could take, forever. What you would do instead is you would behave confidently, walk confidently, think confidently, speak confidently, move confidently, because in a very short amount of time, your behaviors will create the feeling that you're acting. In reality, we are never who we aspire to be. We are only who we practice being.
Mm, hmm. Yeah.
So if you practice being whatever it is you want to practice being, including trusting, back to that point, then in fact, you will develop feelings of trust just because you're behaving that way. But it doesn't work in the reverse. So one of the first things people have to do to repair that kind of infidelity situation is be willing to set aside their original models of the world, their original perspectives, their beliefs, so they can have something different happen. Because of course, we know if you keep the same behaviors and attitudes and beliefs, you're and expect something different. That is the definition of crazy.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Well, yeah, in the recovery community, we often say act as if until
Exactly right.
you can
You
be
could
free.
also say that's very exactly right. I sometimes call it act as if or method act.
Hmm.
Just method act
Okay.
how
Wow.
you want it to go. There's a reason why Johnny Depp is absolutely 1,000% believable as a 17th century pirate. I mean, I saw him outside the courthouse on it with the Amber Heard trial. Somebody in the audience goes, he's beautifully dressed in a three-piece suit, looks awesome. Somebody in the crowd goes, "Hey, Johnny, have you seen Jack Sparrow lately?" Just being funny. And he whipped around, and man, in a nanosecond, he looked like Jack Sparrow. He talked like him. He moved like it was like seeing Jack Sparrow and how weird he had a three-piece suit on.
So you
So, and
came up to Fairfax, Virginia for that?
no, I was watching it on TV.
Oh, okay.
I just saw it on TV.
Yeah.
But the point is, he can in and out of that character
Yeah.
because he's a great method actor. And that's how you get successful. Method acting is a lot of practice until you can just easily slide in and out of it, which I would refer to as behavioral flexibility. He or she with the greatest behavioral flexibility controls the interaction in a relationship. So this idea of being behaviorally flexible is super important.
Wow. Wow. Fascinating. So, you provide people with tools to reconnect with either their team or their partner or probably their kids. What are some of those tools?
Well, there's about 1.5 million of them, but some of the more routine ones would be, first of all, you could connect. Are you saying reconnect or just connect?
Connect or
Okay,
I would, yeah, anything.
just connect.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the ways it's really easy to connect with people, if you know this little trick, is it turns out most everybody uses one of their three senses when they are communicating, and especially in a love relationship. How they prefer to give and receive love and care comes down to usually visually, auditorily, or kinesthetically. That's touch and feel. So knowing which one you are is super important because they're very, very different. For an example, if you are a visual person, love to you means what you can see
Mhm.
somebody do for you. So my husband is visual. There's a reason why I put his dinner plate right in front of him and look at him while I say, "Here's your dinner." That's on purpose, right? Because what he sees me do feels like love to him. I happen to be auditory. So, I mean, you can do nice things for me, and I think that's nice, but it's way more important that I hear compliments and that you're a good audience for me and that we can have a nice conversation and chat about a lot of stuff. And that is very meaningful to me. When you say I love you, that has more meaning than pretty much hugging me or doing something nice for me because it's words. I experience love through my ears. And then conversely, a kinesthetic person definitely feels loved by what they can physically touch. So it becomes really kind of interesting if you have, for an example, I just did, the couple was here before me that you were nice enough to rearrange for. So he was kinesthetic. She was visual. So, of course, if they're sideways, and let's say it's her fault, she's running around doing stuff, picking up around the house, getting him a cup of coffee, what, and he's sitting on the couch going, why don't you just come and sit with me?
Yeah.
Because his vision of love is to be close. And of course, if it's the other way around and they're sideways and it's her fault, first thing he's going to do is run over and give her a big hug, and she'll be like, "Oh, stop it, get off me." She doesn't want that, right?
So I also am auditory. So how do you get your husband to show you love in the way that means more to you?
If you are auditory, if you're auditory, it's very well, you have to understand one thing about auditory people, us wonderful, fabulous auditory people.
Hmm.
We have, let's say, and I don't know if this is your experience, you can tell me, but we have what really is just a very, very dialed up radar for tone of voice, word choice, inflection, pitch, volume. Those are very meaningful to us in our ears. So anybody communicating with an auditory person needs to be aware of that because even the slightest little attitude in their voice, man, we pick up on it right now. And that's not necessarily a good thing, nor is it necessarily accurate. My husband is visual. So I mean, I'm good at this, but I have often been caught saying something to him like, "Why are you so annoyed?" And he'll look at me and say, "I'm not annoyed." And I say, of course, "Well, you sound like you're annoyed." But that's not true. So
Uh-huh.
having that dialed up radar doesn't mean it's better or accurate, but it is a function. So we're going to be much more affected if you yell at us or if you say mean things. And of course, female auditory people have memories like elephants, so we always remember that.
Yeah, well, I have told my partner that I like words of affirmation, but I don't see an increase in his doing that. I don't know if he remembers. And I don't like asking him to say things. I do, but I do it,
Well,
but
what I would recommend is first of all, find out what he is. You may have a sense already, I don't know,
Mhm.
but find out what he is. And then just take a period of time, like, have a day on a weekend. Just pick a Saturday and you communicate with him in his preferred sensory communication style and let him communicate with you. Because at the end of the day, it takes practice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And our default position, if I'm in an argument with somebody and I need to apologize, I'm going to be verbally very verbose and apologizing and wanting to talk about it and all that. They may not want to do that. If they're kinesthetic, they just want to hug.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't need to open my mouth. So it's sort of like if you just love chocolate ice cream. I mean, beautiful, awesome, velvety chocolate ice cream. And he kept bringing you butter pecan because that's his favorite. That's what he thinks is the best. That's going to be a mismatch in your communication.
Hmm.
So you have to practice again back to that concept of behavioral flexibility. If you can be behaviorally flexible to function within your sensory preference and deal with him or, a boss, your children, whoever else in their sensory preferences, then you become quite masterful at communication.
Indeed. So you were on Dr. Phil. What was that like?
Years ago, lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long, long, long time ago, but it was very fun. I was actually on 6 times and it was a big honor. And I really learned a lot, that's for sure.
And what were you brought on to speak about?
Oh, I wasn't speaking. I was asked, I had a situation where the show was referring me people who were on the show for aftercare. When he always says, "Well, if we give you, help after the show, will you go?" So I was one of the people that was in his referral network. And what happened was, I kept getting some really good results for the folks. So he would have me come back with them, and then we'd all talk about, how they did.
Mhm. You also have a book called Romance ESP,
Well, I
Happiness and
almost do. Being an author, you can appreciate. And
okay.
I'm in the middle of that process, but I will have it done soon. Yes.
Okay, good. Good. I look forward to seeing that. And you have an active YouTube channel. What can our listeners expect to find on your YouTube channel?
A lot of great information. They can also go to my website. I'm on Instagram, etc. I'm trying to put out some high quality videos, and soon I will be probably in another 60 days at least, or maybe less. I will be putting out a 6-week online relationship course that they can
Okay,
attend.
excellent. So Scott McFall, leading hypnotist and mentalist, said, "There is no one else in the world doing what Julie is doing." What did he mean by that?
Well, probably that I do have therapy licenses, sorry, 3 therapy licenses in 2 states. So I am a trained therapist, but I don't do therapy at all. I have shifted entirely over to modalities like NLP and hypnosis, and just the wealth of information that comes with dealing with the thousands of people collectively we have dealt with in our system of training. And our system of training also involves theories and applications from, for example, Virginia Satir, Milton Erickson, Jeannie Laborde, people like that. So it's kind of a combination of some great thinkers and some fabulous change workers.
Okay, great. And on your website, it says, in diving deeper into knowing what makes relationships work, you have some specific, maybe surprising suggestions. What can you give us an example of a suggestion that you use that might be surprising?
I've got quite a few of them. One of the surprising ones, one for men, would be stop being her waiter. Stop making everything you do about whether she's happy, because a man cannot tie his self-esteem to whether or not the girl is happy,
Mm,
but they all do. And
mm.
that results in them kind of being like her waiter, and that's not attractive to women. And for women, the somewhat surprising thing is, and I have to tell them this all the time, I don't give a flying flip how you feel. I really don't. I care how you behave, because actions, your outcomes, in other words, people are very trained, sadly, to think that their feelings are the most important thing ever, period, the end, that's it. And so therefore their feelings dictate absolutely everything they do. And because they're humans, a lot of humans get stuck in a lot of negative feelings that are not useful at all, and yet they'll still continue to make their decisions based on all those negative feelings. So what I teach instead is to focus on your outcome, hence outcomes only, because it really is only outcomes. Everything you do and everything you say should be directed toward one of your many goals or outcomes. And if it's not, it's either going to be irrelevant, you're just wasting time, or it's going to be damaging. And either one of those are bad. So by developing a habit, so to speak, of focusing on your outcomes with everything you do and everything you say, there's no possibility other than you will be very successful. If, on the other hand, you stay focused on your feelings, especially your negative ones, and that's how you make all your decisions and your behaviors dictated by that, it's almost a guarantee you are not going to have a happy life and certainly not a successful marriage.
Wow, good stuff. Very important. When will your
Thank
book be
you.
available?
Oh, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping in about 3 months, but that's probably a little bit optimistic, but not long. And because it is Romance ESP, that title should suggest that it's a way to predict and anticipate what happens in relationships, which is my goal.
Yes, yes.
That's going to be
Okay,
very juicy.
so now we get personal. What do you do, Julie, to become your best version?
I think the best version of me, first of all, is an ongoing process because I absolutely believe we are who we practice being. And at different times and phases and seasons of our lives, we're going to practice being different things. But overall, I'd say the thing that helps me be the best I can be is actually feedback. I am a big, big, big proponent of getting feedback. We do not come pre-packaged or hardwired with everything we need to know. So you get to the end of what you know on every subject at some point. And the problem is, a lot of times we think we know enough or all of it, and actually it's shocking how little that's true. So I think the idea of getting high quality, good feedback from people that you trust and have a proven record of, being helpful is absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. So if I'm learning to cook something new, I happen to like cooking a lot. I'm not just going to fiddle around with what's in my head. I'm going to look online or watch a video of somebody doing something that I want to learn. And in this business, I've been fortunate, as I said, to have a great mentor who's been my mentor for 20 years. I practice what I preach. I think everybody should be mentored and coached and trained in whatever they want to get good at.
Excellent. And um, do you work on these goals personally every day? Would you say your personal goals?
I would say so. I've come to the conclusion. I mean, I'm very smart and I'm very well educated and I'm very experienced. But
Mhm.
it's so sometimes weird to me how much I didn't realize or where my awareness was off or how much I actually didn't know. So at this point, I used to be kind of offended at that. Like, well, God darn it, shoot. I should have known that or I thought I had it wired. So instead of getting upset or feeling like I'm lacking or not, smart enough, instead, I just kind of have developed this, imagine that. Okay, well, that's the new thing then. And just, scoop it up and go on my way.
All right. Well, you have so much knowledge that it can help almost anyone become a better human and have better relationships. So I would encourage all of you to go to outcomesonly.com. There are some free resources there as well, and links to her YouTube channel and other really helpful things. So I
Thank you.
thank you, Julie, for taking time out between your clients to be on this show.
I appreciate your flexibility, Marie. You've been very kind, and your questions were very insightful. I appreciate that. I enjoyed the conversation very much.
All right. Thank you.